What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 67 of the RUDIS Wrestling podcast. Matt, we're a few days removed from Final X. Probably had a few days to relax and chill out back in Ohio. What's new with you?
We never relax out around here.
You never chill out.
We never chill out too much. But jumped back from Final X. We had our shoe designer in for the last day and a half.
Ooh,
just going.
that's exciting.
2019 shoes are in production right now, so they should be coming out ready for delivery this fall. And as the shoe game goes, we're already deep into discussions and design for the Olympic year in 2020. So that's coming up really, really quick. So we have to have everything in place. And so we're putting touches and finishing discussions on the 2020 shoe models. So a lot of fun stuff going on. Not a ton of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of exciting stuff to talk about.
Well, I know what I want to talk
Yeah.
about, Matt.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to talk about the shoes more?
No,
Well,
I mean,
I got some prototypes and I like them a lot.
Yeah, so
what I really want to talk about is Penn State got another fantastic announcement the other day, and that is that and not only did Anthony Cassar say he's going to come back, but Shakur says he has also got another year, and he is also coming back. So what looked like maybe a challenge for another national title for Penn State is all of a sudden looking really, really good for them.
Yeah, where they seemingly Penn State was part of the discussion, like a group of teams heading into next year with the addition of, I mean, shoot, when you add a national champ and an All-American back to your roster, I mean, that's going to significantly improve your chances for your title hopes. So I think with the addition of these guys coming back, and I think with Cassar, he's got 2 years, correct, with Rasheed, I think he
has not said I'm going to use 2 years, but
correct. But he's been granted, so
correct. Yep.
But at least they know they've both committed to coming back. So we know that they're going to be in the line or back on the roster. What weight they go, we know Cassar is going to be a heavyweight where Rasheed would go. I'm sure that's part of the discussion about, where he should go and what makes best sense for their lineup and for point production, stability throughout the 10 weights and all that stuff.
So where do you think Shakur ends up? Because obviously he was down at 84 last year, but they had Bo Nickal. This year, I would say, you obviously have Mark Hall at 174. I've heard Mark Hall's cutting a lot of weight. So does Mark Hall go up to 184? And then Shakur goes to 97, but then Michael Beard's on the bench. Does Aaron Brooks come in at 174? I guess they have a handful of possibilities. Does Mason Manville finally find some time in the lineup? What exactly is going to go on there?
Yeah, I think that's the one good thing. I think a lot of people, when they talk about Penn State, they talk about an embarrassment of riches, but I think it's an embarrassment out of necessity, right? I think if you're one of the Power 5 programs or 10 programs that are legitimately trying to hunt down an NCAA title, I think by necessity, you have to have multiple discussions. If you only have one option per weight, and we've seen it with them.
Well, I would actually say, Matt, that's been one of Penn State's weaknesses in the last couple years. I mean, whether it's at 125 when they have someone go down and don't really have a good backup, 133 a couple years back when they had who the heck went down, and then I think George Carpenter or someone was their backup. So they've actually, I would say that's been. Remember, Nolf went down. Bo Piper was their backup, and he really struggled. So I would actually say that maybe has been more of an issue for Penn State than a strength, which that does kind of shock me when you see what the coaching staff has done with development of some of these guys to the fact that they can't even make some of these other guys average.
Well, I think it's a shared responsibility. I think there's a number of points we can discuss there. Yeah, definitely at the lower weights, I don't think it's a matter of depth, but I think the lower weights are always tough. Are always tough to recruit. And when you lose a guy like Suriano, when you lose a guy like Teasdale, those are pieces that you counted on for 4 or 5 years that when they're interrupted, and we've discussed this in the past, so I don't want to regurgitate a lot of the discussion points we've had.
Matt, who was their backup there though this year? He was terrible. Oh my gosh.
At 25, at 33.
Yeah. No, well, obviously RBY was 33 this year. 25. Their backup was Oh my gosh, what was his name? I can't remember his name.
It was the guy that's been in there for a couple years. I can't even think of his name.
Struggles.
Yeah, he struggles. So I mean, it's hard to get a big time blue chip recruit. I mean, a lot of people that haven't been in coaching or recruiting, like finding a lifer at 125. I mean, those guys are gold. Just like finding a heavyweight, that's got the athletic ability, the size, the drive, to compete at a high level for 4 years. Is a luxury. Typically if you're looking at heavyweight, that's definitely a developmental weight, right? Because there's technique.
You can get guys to grow into there too.
Yeah, there's technique and there's, the actual physical size that you typically have to grow into. So when you find a body and you find a guy, that can compete at a high level, like a Gwiz, I mean, you name it, you talk about Gwizdowski and all these guys where they get 4 years of productivity. That's not par for most programs. Most programs, if you can develop a guy and get 2 years of good production at the upper weights, you feel pretty good about that. Where at 125, you're probably looking at those guys like, hey, if he's coming in, he needs to be the guy for 4 or 5 years for me. And I think by
okay, so let me ask you this though, Matt. Just off the top of your, does this make Penn State the favorite or not?
I think it does, because I think they were in the mix of teams to say who. I think before this situation, everybody was saying maybe we give the nod to Iowa, but it's not a clear cut thing. But like I said, you add a national champ and an All-American, a former All-American in there. I think that probably tips the scales in their favor, not dramatically so, but I think it tips the scales.
So you got, 25. I don't believe they're going to get a lot of production out of Brody Teske. 33 got RBY again, but 33 is a beast of a weight, and RBY has not been great this spring. 41, I think you're going to say Nick Lee is probably the favorite that way with Yanni and Jade Ironman sitting out. Maybe Dom Demas is the favorite, but Nick Lee's he's in the conversation for sure.
But could 49, he like? That's the one thing that we don't know about Lee. With the absence of those guys, does that automatically jump him to the top of the heap, or is he one of the guys that's kind of like flatlined as far as his high-end productivity? Is the the 3, 4, 5, 6 range going to be where he's at the remainder of his career?
Well, I would say Nick Lee hasn't made the jumps that says obviously Zane or some of the other guys have that, and I think some people were expecting him to make that jump. But I think we take Yanni out, you take obviously McKenna graduated, Ironman's out. Man, I guess, could I see Nick Lee losing to Chad Redd or Tristan Moran like he did this year? Yeah, I could see that happening. Do I think it's more likely that Nick Lee's staying in the top 3 or 4? I think that's probably more likely. So I would be more likely to move Nick Lee into a category of a favorite than I say a 4, 5, 6 guy. That's what I feel like. And that guy, obviously I've been wrong before, could be wrong again, but that's my gut.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess since you did bring up Chad Redd, I actually ran into Chad and his father this weekend at Final X. And they wanted to thank me for continuing to believe in him. And they wanted to thank you for all the extra motivation you supplied throughout the
year. Isn't that the great thing about having a podcast? That's so fantastic.
Yes.
That is fantastic. Okay, so 149 Penn State. Jared Verclearen, again, you didn't get that. They didn't get that much productivity out of him this year. I don't know that they're going to get that much next year. People are thinking Brady Berge is going to get a lot better by going up to 157.
What's your thoughts about that?
I just haven't seen, as far as the folk style, Brady Berge is always had a lot of success in freestyle, which, he just won the U23s. But as far as a folk style wrestler, we have not seen him put a whole bunch of points on the board. And so, if you're going to try to argue me that he's going to beat Hayden Hindley or Ryan Deacon or one of those guys, man, I'm struggling to see it. And in a folk style match, I am struggling to see it. So, man, Matt, when I lay out those first 5 weights for you, Penn State is struggling to score a whole bunch of points. And who knows, maybe some of these guys make jumps. But obviously, then on the back half of the lineup, if you go say if you went
Joseph 65,
Joseph Hall, but maybe Hall goes up, maybe Brooks goes in. Then maybe you got Shakur, Beard. some mix of that. And then Cassar, man, you're looking at a lot of points there.
So a lot of points, but not as many points as the lineup that they had a year ago when they were still reliant on their upper weights to carry them really to the national title. It looks like the way you outlined the lineup there, the strength of their team is going to be from 57 on up again. So the upper weights are going to bear the lion's share of the burden in delivering another NCAA title to Penn State. Now, are those guys up to the task? Because, as good.
And bonus point wise, I mean, you take Nickal and Nolf out of the mix. How many bonus points did they have at nationals?
Yeah, you take the bonus points.
17 or something between those two?
Yeah, you take the bonus points out of there. And then you look at, Cassar at heavyweight. By no means is he the heavy favorite to win the title again. Well, I mean, he should be ranked.
I don't want to discuss what happened last weekend, but with that going on,
I mean, we'll have to see how that plays out. But that could potentially remove, another prohibitive favorite or conversation piece. I mean, I don't even want to comment on that because, there's no facts to really talk about. So it's not even worth discussing. But, with the full array of heavyweights that we think could be there, I don't think you say Anthony Cassar is head and shoulders the favorite to win that weight class. I mean, he's going to be in there and placing without a doubt. But with all these guys in the development,
I mean, I think especially for next year, we're saying he's absolutely.
So you could potentially.
I mean, I can't see. Can I see Jordan Wood beating him? No. Kirk Follett, I think, is going to redshirt. I would think maybe a Colton Schultz. I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Cassar looked really, really good last year.
They looked really good.
I have a hard time see him going much, much lower.
But potentially, I'm just saying potentially they could score less points at heavyweight. They could have an All-American at 97, but score less points. So, it's, interesting conversation piece the middle of the summer, right?
So, and the other interesting rumor I've heard multiple times, and now I think it's been the past 48 hours, is that Teasdale is in Iowa City, and they're planning on Teasdale going 33, Austin DeSanto going 41, and then that means Max Murin would be out of the lineup. And so I thought that was really interesting. I didn't realize Austin DeSanto was cutting a whole bunch of weight. And I would think with as long as he's a good-sized 41-pounder, which apparently he is, he goes right in that favorites category with Nick Lee and all of those other guys from this year.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think, that bumping to.
Have you heard that rumor at all, or is that just me?
No, I've heard it. I've heard it as well. Okay. So I mean that actually, by moving DeSanto up, it probably it definitely strengthens the Hawkeye lineup, and actually probably increases.
Well, I don't know. Wait, are we sure, Matt? Because how do we know Gavin Teasdale is going to be that good?
We don't know
with how good 133 is. Because obviously Max Murin obviously didn't score any points. But is there a guarantee that Gavin Teasdale scores points, especially at 133?
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking more specifically at 141 with the absence of Ironman and Yanni. That makes 41 a lot more wide open than 33. 33 for some, for.
But what did DeSanto took fifth?
Yes, but that's a weight class that I
can see him placing higher.
In some ways is going to be as good, potentially a little bit better.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit better, which is crazy.
Seth Gross comes back.
Yep.
But I think I think you got to count Dayton Fix out for Olympic redshirt. And then we talked about the possibility of Stevan Micic Olympic redshirting. So if you take those two out, you take Lezak out or Nesty out. I mean, I'm not saying the cupboard's bare, but that makes it. If you leave Fix and Michigan, I see it. If you take those guys out, then maybe it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's going to be a ton of interesting things to discuss because I think in years,
Matt, if you're dating Fix, you got to register.
You have to. You have to. And especially with the timing of the Olympic trials being in April, I think it's really if the individuals that are taking an Olympic red shirt. And they could have an option to jump out of their Olympic red shirt and jump into the postseason or whenever. But for the guys like a Fix and a Yanni and an Ironman that are going to be deep in the hunt and deep in the conversation to make the Olympic team, I don't think you even run the risk of, hey, I've got to make the Olympic team in April. How am I going to win the NCAA title in March, turn around and get ready less than a month later to make the Olympic team? I just don't think individually for the person's best interest.
That's exactly it. Less than a month.
Yeah, it's
less
not
than
like
a month between the NCAA.
Because these guys, I mean, Fix was in a dogfight with Gilman.
Yeah.
That's not going to change if he wrestles a whole college season. Yanni was in a dogfight and is in a dogfight with Zane. So do you really want to stake Zane, another 8 months where he's specifically focusing on freestyle and you're thinking about wrestling folk style? I don't think you want to run that risk. It's too important. The Olympic opportunity is too important.
Yeah, I think the exact same thing. I think those guys absolutely have to Olympic redshirt. And especially now, Dayton Fix would be the most pertinent example because his world championships. Hey Matt, I just texted you the world championship schedule yesterday. P.S.
Yes, I saw that, but yeah, we definitely
probably not on our podcast.
Probably not
at a later date.
Yeah.
But I believe Dayton Fix wrestles on September 20th or September 21st. So Oklahoma State, they're probably a month into their semester by that point. And into their probably starting their wrestling season. So, and you're talking from that date to the Olympic trials is 6 months. Man, I just don't foresee any way that you could try to wrestle in NCAA. And I know Dayton Fix is crazy, and I know he competes everywhere, but I don't see a way you could wrestle in the NCAA championships and then turn around and try to really make the Olympic team if that is your real goal. And like the thing about Spencer Lee that I don't get, Matt, is Olympic Games only every 4 years. You aren't going to have a lot of opportunities. I mean, Spencer Lee's going to be what, in 21 or 22 in 2020? So the next one he's going to be 26. And then the next one after that, well, that's only 2 more chances. Especially if he skips this one, he'll be 30 years old, which is on the higher end to make an Olympic team.
Especially for a lightweight, right?
Especially for a lightweight. You're on the older end. And so to forego any possible opportunity to make an Olympic team, for me, is total insanity.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they have a strategy with Spencer Lee. I don't know what that is. I haven't heard of anybody that knows what that is.
I haven't heard of it either.
But,
have nobody.
But they have a plan, whatever it is. But I'm with you. I mean, the other thing about Spencer is he has had injuries, right? And so that's something, and he's sustained a couple significant injuries. So that's something that you have to factor in. Like, hey, if I'm healthy and I'm ready to go, like you said, I'm not going to be afforded many of these big time opportunities with the Olympic Games. So I don't know.
Yeah, man, you got to do it. Okay, so I think the other thing that we wanted to talk about the other day, which we were really just talking about results, was you and I were just going to talk about the whole process of Final X. I think we were both really psyched about it. This is its second year in existence. I think it's given us 2 more marquee events. I really genuinely don't feel like it's taken much away from the World Team Trials process. That's still an amazing tournament. I still watch it. You still watch it. We still talk about it. And so really we've been granted 2 more opportunities to watch high-level wrestling. They're both very, very well produced. And I love it. I have no complaints. I think it's great.
I think it's been phenomenal. And I'd like to hear your thoughts. I know one of the frustrations from true wrestling fans is that the senior level and the efforts by our senior level athletes aren't normally recognized. I think people jump into the process right around the World Championships. They know it's coming up. It's a major event for the country. And so we tune in and watch, or at least follow the results. But I think with the advent of Final X, it's actually raised the visibility of freestyle. It's raised the visibility of our senior level athletes and our level of engagement with them throughout the year.
I think that's kind of happening. I feel like, Matt, almost across the board, and it's gonna continue to grow because now Flow has got these. They got, what do they call them? The rankings events, or what, like Yasser Dogu, which Flow is covering in a few weeks. They covered an event. I don't even remember what event it was a few weeks back, where I remember I watched Chimizo and some Russians. And so just across the board, it has more visibility. I mean, if we're talking 5 years ago, Matt, it was hard to even watch. It was hard to watch matches taped from the World Championships. I'm not talking live. I'm talking like you can find the matches after the fact. It was a challenge, extremely challenging to find those matches. So yeah, I think kind of across the board, whether it's Final X or otherwise, we're just getting more access, and it is making people more into senior level wrestling. And because if you don't have any access to something, you just can't be into it. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, and I think, for a lot of the senior level guys, they very quickly become an afterthought. People are aware of them, but with the accessibility of the events and being able to tune in, pretty much watch these guys year round now. I mean, it's allowed us to be more engaged with the college athletes that we've really become passionate about throughout their college career. So I think that's great what Flow's doing. I think it's great, the level of access that we have for international events. Because to your point, good luck finding international tournaments, within a short time frame to where the events are current enough that you're really interested in. So I think it's
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess overall, and I'm probably gonna catch some heat for this. I don't love the intermingling of all the different men's, women's, and Greco. You know what? I wouldn't mind, Matt. I wouldn't mind them doing like this year where they did Beat the Streets girls and then a Beat the Streets men's, like them having some type of Final X process for every different style. And honestly, if you're Flow, you're creating more properties that people want to watch. And so I think that's maybe that's too extreme for them to make, say, 4 weekends out of it instead of 2. Maybe that's too much. But I think if you gave them those events their own visibility, I think that might even help as well.
I think that's good in theory. I don't think the women's market is prepared to hold its own event at this point in time.
Yeah,
I think
you
with
if they ran it and saw what happened, then I guess we could go from there.
Yeah, but I think running these event, the different styles in conjunction with one another, it actually in some ways it allows people to become aware of our female athletes and our women athletes, and even our Greco guys, because if you put them on their own separate weekend, right now people aren't going to watch. But if it's a part of the product with men's freestyle, which is, let's call it what it is, it's the highest visibility, component of the
because we get to know these guys through the college ranks and be familiar with them.
And we haven't had that luxury with the women or the Greco men, but putting them alongside the men's freestyle event, it makes you familiar. And all of a sudden you're watching Sarah Hildebrand and Kayla Miracle and Tamara Mensah-Stock, and you're like, these chicks can scrap. These women can go, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. My only
complaint would be that, man, just the one session of Final X was like almost 4 hours. And as much as I love wrestling, that's a long time to sit down and watch wrestling.
Yeah.
It's really hard, especially you got kids that run around. Man, I can't tell my wife, hey, give me 4 hours. Like I need to be 90 minutes, 2 hours, something like that.
I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand with, on the folk style side of things, where, the emphasis has been on promoting dual meets, because it's, it's more manageable as far as attention span. You're only talking about 90 minutes as opposed to sitting down to a tournament session, which is, like you said, 4 hours long. A lot of people they don't have the luxury of carving out 4 hours out of their day.
Yeah. I mean, that's so, yeah, I mean, I agree. Obviously I've watched, I watched all of the Final X's, but I just felt like it was a lot for a 1 day type of event, and that maybe if they spread them out into, and obviously they had 3 of them 2 years ago. They had 3 of them, so I don't maybe go to 3 or 4. Yeah, so I guess I don't have much else to say on Final X. I loved it. I'm looking excited forward to the World Championships. So if you're looking towards the World Championships, and I know they talked about this on Flow, and I don't know if you're comfortable doing it, Matt. Let's go 1 through 10 or 10 through 1, most likely to least likely to medal at the World Championships.
Okay. All right.
Are you comfortable with that or no?
Yeah, let's roll. Let's do it.
Okay. So my number 1 would be Kyle Snyder. I don't think there's quite as much depth at that weight class as there, as say Burroughs or some of our other really good guys. And
so let's clarify.
He is.
So what are you predicting right now again?
Most likely on the U.S. team, 2 medal.
2 medal. Okay, so we're not talking color of medal, just 2 medal in and of.
Just a medal.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And obviously he is what, 3 for 3? No, 4 for 4 in world medals. So I feel pretty comfortable with putting him at my number 1.
Yeah, I would agree. I thought you were going to run through all the weight classes. Yeah, I think.
Oh, you wanted me to go 1 through 10 right away?
No, I think let's go in individual weight by weight. Yeah, Kyle would be my number 1. I think just he's done it every year. He's been in the finals of every senior level championship he's ever been in. So, you would think that's going to hold true. I think we saw a better version. I think we saw, the version that a lot of people, the rest of the world, what they saw at Final X are going to be saying, oh, crap, this guy's got a gut wrench now. Or it may not be there, but this guy's been spending a lot of time in parterre. Holy crap, this is the one component that we thought if this guy adds parterre to his game, watch out. And he's been, a 3-time, 2-time world Olympic gold medalist, being the best on his feet. Now you start adding parterre into his game, and wow, that's a scary proposition for anybody in the world, Sajalive included.
Yes, I agree. Okay, so that's my number 1. Number 2, I'm going to go with Jaden Cox again. I think these upper weights aren't quite as deep as some of the middle weights, and Jaden Cox is also 100% on world medals. He has 3 for 3. He has 2 bronzes. He has 1 gold. He is 100% just like Kyle Snyder, which those are the only 2 guys that I believe can say that.
I would actually, and I agree with the second pick as well. I would almost put Snyder and Jaden as 1A and 1B. They could almost be. You could probably make some arguments where
you're saying they're both 100%.
Yeah, and I think they're not that anything's a lock. Medaling is not a lock. It's difficult, but with what their history looks like and how they've continued to develop. Yeah, I think they're 1A and 1B, and almost to a certain point could be interchangeable. But yeah, I almost think if we change the conversation and say if you want to pick colors in some way, a lot of people
most likely to win.
He might be the most likely to win.
Well, you could definitely argue that because he doesn't have an obstacle like Abdul Rashid Sajulayev sitting in front of him, making his life a little more difficult.
True.
Yeah. Okay. So who's your number 3?
My number 3 would be Dayton Fix.
What? Dayton Fix?
I think he's made six consecutive.
That's a really impressive stat, Matt.
Really impressive.
World championship.
6 consecutive age group world championship teams. He defeated a world medalist who followed that up with a 5th place finish, which means he was competing for a medal. Gilman was competing for a medal, came up short last year, getting 5th. I actually thought that was a better version of Thomas Gilman that we had seen. I don't think it's a guy that had backtracked at all or lost his edge. I thought the version we saw of Thomas Gilman on Saturday night was a better version than we saw a year ago. And for Dayton Fix to go out and beat him, he's my number 3.
Wow. Okay, so I'm going to go with I'm not going to give you a name, Matt. Here's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you 79 kilograms, and we don't know who that's going to be yet. But I believe both those guys are at wrestling at such a high level. Kyle Dake outscored the world 37-0 last year. But I'm not sure he's the favorite over Alex Deirdre because Alex Deirdre has looked so great. So I'm going to say whoever is our 79 kilogram representative, and we still have no idea when that bout is going to happen. I'm thinking they'll probably do it at Fargo. Obviously, the Cornell camp wants to push it all the way back to August? At August some point. So I'm going to say whoever's at 79 kilograms is our 3rd most likely person to medal.
And I couldn't argue with that. I mean, I could have gone with, I'm with you. I think Dake or Derringer both are going to medal. Whoever's in there. The only caveat I would say with Derringer, he's never been in the Senior World Championships. But on the flip side of that, if you look at the history of first-time World Championship entrants, we've got a great track record of first-time participants medaling. So I don't think you can take that out of the equation with Derringer. I was thinking with a healthy Dake. A healthy Dake, we know what we're going to get, and I think a healthy Dake does what he does last year. He storms through the field. He wins another gold medal. So yeah, I was probably thinking more in the here and now, what we have in hand. We know Dayton fixes we know that Dayton is our man. I think that's not ideal for either guy. It's not ideal for Dake or Derringer. Man, April or August, I think having the weight class determined in August, ideal. It's not ideal for either one of those guys.
Well, because really both of them are they're preparing for each other,
right?
They're not. It's not like they're preparing for the world, and it's not like the U.S. team is preparing them for the world. Those guys are solely worried about beating each other because they can't get to the World Championships without beating each other.
And most of these guys,
think that's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, and most of our guys, they will have an acclimation tournament or two leading up to the World Championships, and I think those tournaments, they're there for a variety of reasons. They're not that. Number one, they're there to keep you hardened, right? Keep you battle tested.
Yep.
But also it's the opportunity to kind of incorporate the training camp, the world team camps, and what you've been focusing on that. It's an opportunity for you to apply what you've been working on in these world team camps in live competition. Now with Dake and Derringer, you're seemingly taking that opportunity away, and you're not focusing on the world right now. You're focusing on a certain opponent, and I don't think that's ideal for either guy.
Not ideal. Okay, so I picked my number 3.
So I would flip-flop with you. I would.
So you're going number 4.
Number 4 would be Dake or Derringer in my book.
So I'm going to go number 4, Jordan Burroughs. And, I feel like that's kind of putting him low for someone who's proven himself so much. But at the same time, there's a lot of really good competitors in that weight class. We saw that last year. And Jordan has just been having a lot of close matches. Obviously, he had a really close match he lost to Isaiah, had another really close match with Isaiah. He dropped a match he had another close match with Franklin Gomez at the Pan Ams. And so it's like, I think the likelihood that he medals is still significantly higher than, say, 50%. But when I compare it to the likelihood, I think I think Kyle Snyder and Jaden Cox are almost 100%.
Yeah,
almost 100.
Yeah, and I
go number 4.
I would say Jordan at number 4 as well for myself. And again, this isn't a slight to him. This is more a credit to how deep this weight class is and the depth of talent and the depth of parity throughout the world. But the one thing that you can say about Jordan is not only is he one of the greatest ever, he's proven he's arguably the greatest winner of all time. Yeah. Like this guy just knows how to win. He's come back from so much adversity.
He did it last week.
He did it last week. He's done it repeatedly for 9 straight years where he's faced adversity. He's had broken bones. He's had to come back from not placing at the Olympics. He's overcome a lot of things and even adversity to make the team. He's found ways to win, not only at the domestic level, but at the international level, at the World Championships. He is one of the greatest winners I've ever seen. And so, yeah, I mean, he will. I do. He's going to medal. He will medal.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my number 4. You're saying that's your number 5 then? So then I got to pick a number 5. Let me think.
Well, number 5. That's back on me. If you want to flip.
Oh, I thought you were saying Jordan. I thought you were saying Jordan Burroughs is your number 5.
No, I was agreeing with you.
Okay, so he's my number 4. So then my number 5 is going to be Nick Gwiazdowski. Same reason. Obviously, he's proved to us that he can medal at the World Championships, but there for whatever reason, heavyweight right now has a lot of depth. And if he runs it with it not really being seated great, if he runs it at Akul early or someone like that, that could put him in a tough spot to play. So I think heavyweight's got a lot of depth right now. I think that makes it challenging for Nick. I would say, again, I think he's likely to medal, but when I compare him to the other guys on our team, he's just not there.
Yeah, he's a multiple world medalist. So we know he's got a body of work to say, yeah, we know he's going to be in there. But I think with Gwiz, there's some guys stylistically and some guys just from a size perspective that he's just going to have more problems
like that extremely large Iranian guy. What was his dang name?
Right, and Takul from Turkey, right? Taha. He's just gigantic, and he's athletic. I mean, he cuts down to make the weight class. He's as good an athlete as Gwiz is. So just from a physical standpoint, there's certain guys that are just not a good matchup with him, that he's probably as good of a wrestler, but they have the advantage in size over him and match his athletic ability. So I think there's a little more margin of error for his pathway to get on the podium than, I should say, a lack thereof. There's not much margin of error for Gwiz. In his pathway to make the podium. So I'm with you. I believe, he's shown he can do it. He's shown he's continuing to improve and get better. So, we think he's going to do it, but I think there's, several other factors to take into consideration there.
Okay. So that's my number 5, was Nick Gwizdowski. So you're up on your number 5.
So I would go with whoever is our rep at 65 kilos, whoever that's going to be. We haven't heard any new developments with Zane and Yanni. I think either one of those. The only caveat I would put in there, and as much people are going to hype the talent and the depth at 65 kilograms domestically in our country, the fact still remains we haven't medaled at this weight class in well over a decade. We're almost approaching
2006.
We're approaching.
I talked about that with my brother this morning.
It's insane. And we've had talented guys. We've had Metcalf. We've had Tian Ware. We've had, Molinari. We've had all these really credentialed reps over the last 13 years man the post, but none of them have been able to step up on the podium and medal. So as much as
I think that's a weight class depth issue, right? That 65 is probably habitually the deepest weight or at the World Championships.
Yeah, and it's a direct reflection of the depth of the talent and the credentials we have at 65 as well. From a talent and credential standpoint, that's far and away 65 kilos is our deepest weight. Yet again, as much as people are high on Zane and Yanni, just as we are, we think they're phenomenal. We think that they could win gold, but the fact remains we haven't medaled in 13 years. So,
yeah.
So what's your pick? Number 5.
Well, okay, I'd pick my 5.
6.
So I'm on 6. So my order right now goes Snyder, Cox, 79 kg, whoever that ends up being, then Jordan, then Gwizdowski. So my number 6, like you already said him, will be Dayton Fix. He has not medaled at the senior world level, obviously, but he's medaled multiple times at the junior and cadet level. He's beat Thomas Gilman, who competes very well at the world level. I'm very excited to see him wrestle at Yasser Dogu, which is, I believe that's 3 weeks away. I think that's going to take us, show us what he's got. But he's someone good offensively, good defensively, good at controlling center, really good on top and parterre. So I think, like you already mentioned, good chance of getting a medal right out of the gate.
Yes.
Okay, so you're number 6.
Number 6.
You haven't said Burroughs yet, just FYI.
No, I did say Burroughs.
No,
yes, I did. No, I agreed with you. I agreed with you in Burroughs.
No, but you never said him. I promised this, Matt. Scout's honor. I wouldn't lie to you.
Okay, then
you said Cox. You said Snyder Cox. We agreed on that. Then you went Fix, and then you went 79, and then you went 65.
Okay, well, I screwed that up. I thought I was agreeing with you. I would go with Burroughs at 5.
Okay, and then you're moving 65 to number 6.
Yes, and
okay.
So who do we have left?
So
we have Downey.
Both of us are the same. We have 86. We have 61. I have not said 65 yet. And then we have James Green. Both of us have James Green.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is going to be. Well, I don't want to mix up my picks, but I would actually bump James Green above 65 kilos. I would bump.
We should have been prepared. Just FYI, if you're watching the show, we did not study this ahead of time.
We just jumped into this conversation. I would say James Green. I think I said it the other day. I think James Green losing at the U.S. Open was the best thing for him. I think it lit his fire. It got him, back on track. That's a callous thing to say. I don't think he was ever off track, but I think we saw the version of James Green that won in the World Team Trials and Final X. We saw the James Green that has won world medals before. And I think we're going to see an extra level of motivation from James Green because, he can't lie to himself. 70 kilograms is his perfect weight class. And this may be one of his last opportunities to inhabit the 70 kilogram weight class and be the favorite. So he knows next year when he has to bump up to 74, that's not ideal for him. He knows that. So he probably has extra motivation now, knowing that this may be one of his last real chances to win a world championships.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. I absolutely agree. I am going to go James Green, number 7 for me. I think he has the ability to place for sure. Another very deep weight class, and he did struggle a little bit last year. So I'm going James Green, number 7. I'll skip right into number 8. For me, number 8 would be the 65 kg. And I think I'm going to echo exactly what you said, is that both these guys are capable, whether it's Gianni or Zane. I think that I believe there will be a third match wrestle off. And
have you heard anything about that?
I haven't heard anything, but they said it was going to be. I want to say they said it was going to be 5 weeks before they even heard anything. So I think that was to be expected. I believe that was what I heard. It's going to be a lengthy process, and which obviously, like 79 kg, that doesn't bode well for whoever's the representative there. But I think the depth of that weight class makes it challenging, and we haven't placed that weight class in 13 years, man. That is a long time. So that's my number 8 for the most likely to place.
Okay, so the last 2 we're going into.
We both have the last 2.
I would probably say Graf. I'll go 61, Tyler Graf, because he can.
Yep.
He's a streaky guy. And I think even though he's wrestled a lot internationally, he's never wrestled on the world stage. I think there's a level of familiarity with him. He's 30. Yeah. He's 30 years old. So it's not, he's not like the senior, the guy fresh out of college that makes the team and nobody's seen him. I mean, Tyler's been around. He's wrestled internationally for the past 7-8 years since college. So he is a known commodity. But he's not known that well. And with his ability to score in parterre, he could get on a heater. Like Cologne did last year, he could get on a heater and make a run. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I think he's got to have the right weekend where things are clicking for him and he finds his groove and gets into a level of comfort to start reeling things off. But I think at least he has something you can point to and say, This guy's got this in his arsenal. And if this thing is working at the highest level on this weekend, he could definitely medal.
Yeah, I agree. So I'll go the same. I feel the same way as you. And now, I would say my perspective on Tyler Graf has changed. Before last weekend, he was the guy who could never come up in a big spot. Whether it was the semis or finals, he seemed to always come up a little bit short. And obviously now that changes. He finally did it. And so can he go do it again at the World Championships? Obviously, a place where Joe Colon took a bronze last year. Joe Colon just beat the world number 1, Yalis Bone Rodriguez. And obviously, it's a diametrically different skill set that Tyler Graf possesses, but he is really good in parterre. He has multiple leg attacks. So definitely wouldn't be shocked to have him see the podium. And Matt, this is a fantastic thing when we're 9 deep and we're saying wouldn't be shocked at all to see him see the podium.
Yeah, I mean, that talks to our not just the talent on the team, but also the depth that's pushing these guys and driving each guy to continue to evolve and improve. And so it's a testament not just to our number ones, but for our entire U.S. system and the way they're developing guys and creating new levels of competition within the weight classes.
Yeah. Okay. So number 10, Pat Downey. He hasn't not had much international success this year. Sorry, Pat. Well, Pat, you don't really like me too much anyway. So,
I mean, the only thing that we have for Downey is, and again, someone's got to be number 10, right? We're not necessarily hating on Downey. I mean, the fact remains he's also making his first world team. We don't have, at least with Graf has some results internationally.
Yes.
It's not like he's going in blind and we don't have any body of work. With Graf, he's had results over the last 4 or 5 years. He just hasn't quite put it all together, like you said, but he's performed internationally, where with Downey, he doesn't have a broad base of international competition outside of his U23 silver medal. Wasn't he was a world medalist. Was it at the University of
Junior world medalist?
Junior world medalist, right?
A while back.
So there is that to point to. Now it's been quite a few years in between that medal and this opportunity. So I don't know how many parallels you can draw between the two, but he's at least medaled at a world tournament, which is something. But I'm with you. Let him hate on you. Let him hate on you.
just like Chad Red, right?
Exactly.
Everyone can take it personal, although someone did have to be number 10, to your point. Okay, Matt, I think that's probably all we got to discuss for now. Oh my gosh, Matt, we found a way to go overtime even today when we didn't have much to talk
I thought
about.
We were going to be done at like 25 minutes today.
I thought we were going to have a short one. We didn't. We went overtime. So that's great. Fantastic. Hope you guys have a great weekend. And I'm not sure what we'll talk about next week, Matt, but we're going to find something.
We always find something. I'll talk to you later.
Peace.